أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا رحمة للعالمين بالقاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All praise and glory belong to Allah, the one who is more merciful and loving than our own mothers. He has said in Hadith Qudsi that I love you 70 times more than your own mother. And that is also just to get our mind closer to the amount of love that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. His love is limitless. Out of His love He gave us that ability or potential to become the best of His creations. And we've been talking to you about the matter of choice and freedom. Because these are two things that are quite a bit in the society, in the social media, and when it comes to religion, these two topics are misused to get people away from religion. And because of that, atheism is actually rampant at the moment. There are, if you look at the stats, 35% of the youths in America have no religion. 35%. In Finland, there is 0% of the individuals that say that this universe was created by God. So they deny the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is not even 1%, not percent, even 1% that says that God created this earth. And of course, when you look at the stats of suicide, then in Finland is the highest. Because whenever you go away from the actual nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to you, the void is going to be filled with stress, depression, and having no purpose in your life, and getting to the point where it just becomes the day-to-day basis and just running after the pleasures that you think is going to fill that void. So it's important that we talk about these two topics, and so far what I had tried to do with the grace and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we ourselves, we cannot do anything without His help, was to get you step by step closer to the points that I'm trying to make. If you forget about what I have said yesterday, then I'm going to have to go back and repeat the same things and then try to move you forward. So best is that if you can just take this, that these are steps that you have to remember so that we can get closer to that idea that will explain choice and freedom in a different light, by which you yourself would be able to understand it better, and you can make others understand it better too. Because it's our responsibilities as the ambassadors of Islam, living in a country where you have come and people look at you as an ambassador. It's our responsibility to let people know what Islam talks about when we say choice. It's our responsibility to let them know when Islam says freedom, what does that mean? So that one, we can protect ourselves from the wrong ideology, demented ideology and definitions of choice and freedom. And the other is we can let others know what actually choice means and what freedom means. So far we have come to that the choice that we have to make is not necessarily between good and bad. The good and bad that we think about is actually good and bad relative to us. With me so far? Because we look at religion as do's and don'ts. The reality of it is that religion is giving you the tools and the blueprint and the resources, and it gives you those rituals that facilitate the environment for you to become a human being. That's a very different worldview of religion. Majority of the worldview of religion is that you do certain rituals and tasks and the do's and don'ts so that you can end up in heaven, so that you can avoid hell. And we mentioned to you that heaven and hell are actually two motivators that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has motivated us to complete a task which no other creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the potential to be able to do. And that is to build themselves by choice, no matter what they want to build themselves to be. Right? So we had mentioned to you a particular verse in Surah Ahzab, and the verse number was 72, and we translated that for you. So the end result of that is that there is a task that the rest of the creation did not want it to take. That also tells us that the rest of the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did have choice. Because if they had no choice, it would be dictated to them. They would have no opportunity to say, no, we don't want to take this trust of yours. Right? So the trees had a choice, the ocean had the choice, everything had a choice. Animals had a choice. And if you think about it, every single thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created has choice. And we have thought that this choice is only our property. That it's only us that can choose. The rest cannot choose. And in reality, everything that He has created has a certain degree of choice that they can make. One of the particular verses of the Quran says, يُصَبِّحُ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. That whatever I have created, and we explained to you what samawati wal ard means. Whatever that I have created, it is doing my glorification. You cannot glorify an individual without choice. If somebody was to say that, they put a gun on my forehead and say, praise me. If they force me to praise them, that's not really, that's not praise. That's not glory. If I do not understand that individual that I'm glorifying, it's not glory. I need to be able to understand the stature of that individual to be able to say that I can glorify you. Right? So for glory, you need to have choice. You need to have some sort of knowledge of the being that you're glorifying. So in reality, when you look at the way that the glorification of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, He also mentions that you cannot understand their glory. You do not hear their glory. But there were times when the Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, had stones in his hands, and the people could hear the stone saying, Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Stones. For that particular moment, the Holy Prophet opened those ears which were closed for them. They could not hear the tasbih of the stones. Not that the Prophet started making them do tasbih, because they were already doing it. يُصَبِّحُ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. They were already doing it. It's just that those individuals, their ears were blocked. They could not hear the tasbih of the stones. The Holy Prophet for a moment opened their ears so they could hear it. So parallel to this particular universe, there's another universe that is parallel to it. Okay? And I don't know if you've heard of the M theory or the string theory. It's something that, in the mainstream media, they have a lot of documentaries about it too, and there are a lot of people that are talking. 1930s, this sort of theory started. And what it states is that there are universes on top of each other. Right? And it's not a news for me or for us that you're saying there's not one universe but multiverse. It's not news for me. I knew about that 1400 years ago when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Holy Quran and told the Prophet to say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The praise belongs to that Lord, the provider of the universes. It's in plural. We knew about that there are multiverses. You don't have to tell us that. Right? But these verses, they are parallel to each other. And what happens in those parallel universes, they so far don't understand what it is. But we have traditions from the Prophet and Imam Masumin alayhi salam that indicate what might be happening in those parallel universes. For example, when we do ghibat in this three-dimensional universe, all you see is two individuals sitting down and utilizing their vocal cords to produce the frequency of sound in different languages, talking about the aib or the defect of another person. Right? But we've been told that ghibat's actual state is eating the dead flesh of your brother. And that is actually happening simultaneously. But we cannot see that. Right? A person came to the Holy Prophet as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet offered him food. He said, eat. And the person replied, I am with fast. The Prophet said, no, eat. He said, no, I am with fast. He said, eat. He said, I am with fast. As soon as he said, I am with fast, a blood stained, filled of blood, a piece of meat fell from his teeth. Fell in his lap. And he's looking at it. The Prophet asked him, before coming to see me, did you do ghibat? Did you do backbiting? And the person said yes. For that particular moment in time, the Holy Prophet opened his eyes on the parallel universe that was happening, which was the state in which he had eaten the dead flesh of his brother. And for that little moment in time, he was able to see the effect of ghibat, of what in actuality is the shape of it. Or when the Prophet went and to prove this sort of, or to get your minds comfortable with this idea, we'll give you some more examples and we'll come back to the actual, which is part of the same topic. But I want you to realize that the choices that you make in this world are different, and in parallel to this world, their shape and form is different. Because if you could see the ugliness of that, you would never sin. The reason why we sin is that we cannot see the dead body in front of us. We do not see that we are eating the flesh of that brother of ours. If we could see it, none of us would do ghibat. And also because we don't see the beauty of the good deeds, therefore we let go of the good deeds. But if we could see the actual beauty of those deeds, we would never let go of a single good deed. When the Prophet went to Mi'raj, he saw some angels planting trees. So they would work like 4 or 5 minutes, just to get your minds, in our own tongue. 4 or 5 minutes they would work and then take a break. Little bit they would work and then take a break. Little bit they would work and they take a break. And the Prophet asked, how come you guys are not working constantly? Like, you started a task, finish it. You work and then you sit down. You work and you sit down. The angels replied that the reason we do that is that when somebody says Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar, we start working. When they stop, we stop. So when the companions heard that, they had a smile on their face, some of them, because they used to do tasbihat arba quite often. They used to quite often say Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. So they were smiling, and the Prophet said, I also saw fire coming and burning those trees. And that fire was the sins that we commit. In the Holy Quran, it also says that the people who take the unlawful, who take the rights of the orphans unlawfully, and they utilize that, they are filling their stomachs with fire. So in reality, what is actually happening at that moment when a person is doing that, they are putting fire in their stomachs. With me. He also saw when he went to Miraj that there were individuals who were put iron rods that were made into red. That hot, they were being put into their ears. And it was told to the Prophet that these are individuals who listen to those things that are haram, that are forbidden. And one of them is music. When you listen to music, all, maazallah, if you do, may God forgive you, and may you have enough strength to let go of that. This comes into the don'ts, but you don't realize what is the actual effect of it. I was at a place, we had a majlis, I go outside, and then an SUV, a BMW, the guy came to pick up his family, and he opened the door and there was music going on. And I was surprised. How can the Azadar of Imam Hussain in the month of Muharram, picking up his family from a majlis, be performing the same task that the enemy of Imam Hussain, Yazid, used to do? Is that so? When a person is actually putting the headphones, or that's what they're doing, is they're taking those iron rods that have been made into red and putting it in their ears. And when they're listening to that in their car, this is what's happening, right? So parallelly, there is another world that exists to us, and our actions translate in that world differently. And we've been told what the translation of those actions are. Just like that, when you do perform a good deed, it has an effect. When you perform a bad deed, it has an effect. And the effect is on you. The effect is on you. The harm is for you. And when you get into the shower and you've turned the hot water really towards that, temperature, and you burn, who are you going to blame? The water company? Well, you're the one who turned the temperature so high. So who's to blame? Do we really need a judgment for that? Do we really need to say to that person that, no, it's your fault. It's my fault. If I let go of the good deeds, it's my fault. And who's getting the harm? I am. And if I perform good deeds, who's getting the benefit? Huh? You are? I am. Right? There's no favor to anybody. There's no favor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's no favor to somebody else. Actually, when you perform a good deed, the favor is on you. So really, if you were to take a look at human beings, there's only one job that they have, and that is the job of construction. Right? You are constructing yourself. And you've constructed yourself for that long. When you die, what you have constructed will be revealed. So in reality, when you start looking at choice that way in religion, then you understand that it's not a matter of do's and don'ts, but what it is a matter of that I need to build myself. So then another thing that people end up saying is that, look at John Smith. He's such a good person. Look at Sukhvinder or Parvinder. They're so nice. And look at our Muslims, what they are doing. And some other times they will say, they have more Islam than we do. That their character is more of a Muslim than it is ours. What you need to remember is that any building or foundation which is based on polytheistic ideology will not produce the result of the archetypes, the characteristics, or the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which actually is the task of ours, where we become a human being. We explained to you yesterday that in animals we can find generosity. That the social scientists, they say that if we were to live like ants, you would have justice and peace. Even if we lived like the animal kingdom, we would not have the atrocities that are being committed all over the world. If we lived even like an animal, you would not find people beheading the necks of innocent without any reason. So in reality, human beings have forgotten, they have sunk even lower than animals. At a place, there was an interfaith what do you call that, iftari that we do. In my Ramadan, you have that. So I stood in front of the people and I said, I'm here to actually ask you to save an endangered species, and I would like you to give funds for it, and I want you to help me with this endangered species. So everybody was thinking I'm talking about pandas or some of the other species that are being endangered. And then when I said that the endangered species that I'm talking about is humanity, they had a surprise on their face. We are not endangered. We have been endangered, extinct species for so many years. Slowly we're losing that. In the name of what? In the name of what? So that you can have a better cell phone? You can have a better computer? You can have a better technology? And when we talk like that, then people say, oh, you want to take us 1400 years back. That's not the case. We mentioned to you that all of the sciences that we have actually were given to us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the mediums of the infallibles. Right? So some of you were not here, so maybe you missed out. Is Islam against technology and the development of civilizations where they can become more and more stronger in technology and science? No. This is the wrong propaganda that has been put in, that Mazallah, Islam or Muslims are jealous of the technology that's out there. We're not jealous. And if you feel jealous inside, take this out. If you feel inferiority inside, take this out. You're not jealous. Science is actually the laws and the rules of that creator that we believe in. What Islam is against is the misuse of that knowledge and that technology instead of the betterment of humanity, it is utilized to make better animals, not human beings. This is what is wrong. To have the latest cell phone, there's nothing wrong with that. To have a nice car, there's nothing wrong with that. Right? Because when a religious person comes and he says, oh, I'm a dunyadar, a person who says, I'm a worldly person, and you're a religious person. So a religious person is not supposed to have any of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but a worldly person should have all of it. So therefore, everybody categorizes themselves as a worldly person. But do we even know what the definition of world and religious is, or worldly or religious is? Here you have the traditions narrating that you need to go and earn for your family, and it is worship. You should take care of your family, it is worship. When you have money to feed others, is worship. Provide the comfort for others is worship. Take care of the sick, it's worship. Take care of your wife and your children, it's worship. All of this is worship, but we haven't understood what worship is or what world is, so therefore we label all of those things as the worldly thing. That world that is condemned by Imam Ali and by Aimma and by Quran and by traditions is different. So what that world is, I'll try to explain to you so that you can understand the choices that we are making. We need to know what is that definition. Because a lot of the times people say, how can you balance religion with the daily tasks that we have to do? So some people have come with the formula that they can watch 3 hours of Bollywood and then, recite Dua Kumel and a bit of Quran. Then now we are balanced. That I have balanced dunya and akhirat. Right? Isn't that sort of the mentality? That I can go run after all of money and everything else, and then in the end I can give it to the center or somebody else. I have balanced my dunya and akhirat. No? Isn't that? Or don't be, just be a good Muslim. How are you going to? Don't be an extremist. How are you not going to be an extremist? The good way you're going to be, you go earn your livelihood, you watch Bollywood, you watch all of that stuff, and then also pray your namaz and so forth. You have a balanced religion. The idea of that, also existed in Christianity. The Pope and the Vatican and the ones that are there as the heads of the church, they would tell people, don't run after the world. Please don't run after the world. Live a life of simplicity. Don't go after the glory and the glamour of the world. And then the same people have in London like 3 million, 4 million pounds summer houses. Or just a place to stay for 4 million pounds. When you look at their dress is filled with gold. When they sit down is filled with a chair that is gold. And the individual is saying, don't go after the glamour and the glory of the world. Sometimes it happens the same way. The person who sits down on the mimbar is charging $50,000 US for 10 days and is telling other people, don't become a worldly person. Yani, what? What is that? Yeah. So, where is that balance? Where is the line that we have drawn into this world hereafter? When you talk about on one side, the people get the impression that we are talking that, don't go into IT, don't become a doctor, don't do this, don't do that. Just have a tasbih in your hand and sit down on the musalla all day and just read du'as and Quran, and now you're a religious person. And unfortunately, it's the same case for every religion. And when an atheist looks at it, makes fun of it. He sees the paradox, he sees the dualism, he makes fun of it. And because we are not able to explain our religion in the proper light that has been given to us, even among our own selves, we have atheists that are in the closet. And as the environment becomes more and more conducive, you'll see people coming out and saying, I don't believe in God. Because they are producing that environment. They're facilitating that environment. And we have missed the boat. We need to explain to our youths, why do we do matam? We have to explain to them, why do we have alam? We have to explain to them, why do we wear black clothes? We have to explain to them why we cry. We have to explain to them why we have a zari. If you were just to say, well, I am telling you this is what you're going to do. The environment outside is not that. The environment is asking him to ask questions. To ask why. We need to have the answers. And then you, on top of that, with the youth, you also have this quote-unquote modern Muslims. Ajab. So they have a modern God, a modern Quran, a modern Prophet, a modern Imam. Either you're a Muslim or you're not. Where did this modern come from? Right? And then they will have ideology or objections against the azah of Imam Hussain. We should not do, for example, julus. What's the point? And they will come and do matam and say, and all of these objections are out there, we don't have the answers for it. And it's dividing us. I'll tell you a little bit about the julus. And about matam as well. Because now we are getting people that are with that Wahhabi sort of mentality, with that mentality that is even shunned by our Sunni brothers. Now, Al-Azhar University and the Allama, they had a conference where they said that Wahhabism does not have anything to do with Islam. The Sunni world is talking about that. They're saying their ideology is demented. They're saying that their ideology is something which does not have anything to do with Islam. To kill the innocent for no reason just because you don't agree with my ideology is not the ideology of Islam. Islam says, if you want to have a faith, have your faith. Like Rafiddin. There is no compulsion in religion. Right? They're starting to now come out of the woods and, having asking the councils or asking the city to stop this procession. And then on top of that, you have those people who are, don't understand the azah of Imam Hussain. They're also putting their 2 cents. Do you know how we communicate? %92 of our communication is non-verbal. You know that? Urdu mein bataun ya aap English mein samajh? 92% of our communication is non-verbal. 8% is verbal. When you communicate to somebody, 92% has to do with your body language. And in reality, that 92% that we're talking about also includes the tone and the pitch of your voice. Maslan, if I say, "You're here?" Example, I'm just giving you an example. "You're here?" It's words, but my tone is of what? Yeah. Look at the words. What did I, and when if I use it for you, "You're here?" If I use that for you, you get upset with me. I'm like, what did I do? What's wrong with me saying "you're here"? There was nothing wrong with the words that you use, but the tone that you use sarcastic tone, and the individual is upset. Aage. So what is happening here? And look at my body language too. So that 8% is verbal, 92% is your body language. You communicate through that. There are micro movements on your face that actually you don't notice, it's unconsciously. Micro, like really, really tiny movements. If you slow down a face, you will find those movements. This is how we communicate. Azah of Imam Hussain has that communication factor of your body. When you take your hand and put it on your chest, what you're communicating to the individual is that inside you're broken up. That something has happened inside of you, that this is the language of your body telling that something has gone wrong. So that the individual can come and ask you, what is wrong? That when you're sitting in a corner, sad and crying, somebody should come and ask you, what is wrong? So that then you have the opportunity to let that person know that 1400 years ago, there was an atrocity that was committed. And in the atrocity, the innocent were killed. So you can let them know that today too, we are with the innocent and we are against the oppressors. So that you can let them know that this azah is actually a protest against all of the oppressors. And it's a stand with the oppressed. We're not talking about the Yazid that died 1400 years ago. Yes, we are condemning that, but we are also condemning every Yazid that has ever existed, that has killed the innocent, that has taken the principles of humanity away, that is creating the environment which we are losing our humanity. It does not matter whether that person calls themselves a Muslim or anything else. We are against the oppressors. We are with the oppressed. The azah of Imam Hussain is a protest. If they were to say that what is the benefit, what was the benefit of Bibi Zainab starting this movement in a closed door, in the house or a place of the enemy? She said, no, we are not going to go back. We're going to have the azah of Imam Hussain. You think about the results. Women and children sat down and cried. 1400 years ago, in a closed room, in the house of their enemy. They cried. After 1400 years, the whole world is engulfed with that. Wherever you go, there is the azah of Imam Hussain. There are 30 million people who will end up in Karbala or even more this year, inshallah, for Arba'in. In a place like, for example, Watford, where you're sitting down and having the azah of Imam Hussain, if you were to take a bird's view and see the whole world right now, wherever you are going to go, there's the azah of Imam Hussain. If Ibn Zainab had thought like you and I think, or for example, the modern Muslims, then what is the point? What is the point of actually doing this in a closed room in the house of the enemy, and it's just women and children? What's the point? Don't do it. Today, would we have that? We don't. We won't. We have it because they started it. And because when it is started, it is the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His help comes. Whether the result comes today or it comes tomorrow or it comes after 1,000 years, that is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to put that step forward. If you can go and do research about Islam, what you will find this fact. And if you find anything else, come and talk to me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will condemn any of those individuals that were silent and in front of them tyranny was done. He will punish them for the same punishment as the tyrant. Why would the people in Kufa who did not go and support Imam Hussain stand on the day of judgment with Yazid and the rest of the ones who were in the battlefield? They will be raised because they stayed silent. And in Ziyarat Ashura we mentioned that. We recited that these individuals should be taken out of the circle of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they stayed quiet. When we come out on the street, whether it's a protest or whether it is the azah of Imam Hussain, when we come out on the street, we are safe from being raised with the tyrants of the time. Then on the day of judgment, we're not going to stand with the tyrants. We are going to stand with the oppressed. We will be raised with Imam Hussain. We will be raised with those individuals who fought against tyranny. There are many, many angles that you can explain what we do is what it is. We don't need to revive Islam. We need to revive our understanding. Islam is perfect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it perfect. And He's made it till the end of time. There's nothing that you need to delete or add. Everything is perfect. What is wrong is our understanding of this perfect religion. What is wrong is our understanding of the Holy Quran when it is manipulated by some individuals who want to gain, who distort, deceive and manipulate. Islam is perfect. It has the answers to everything. You bring me any of the most educated individuals in the world and have them sit down with our scholars, they will be able to contribute into their research and knowledge. We have personalities like Ayatollah Hasan Amali. He attended a conference, just to let you know, he attended a conference where all the mathematicians had gathered. And they wrote down an equation. They said anybody who will be able to solve this equation, there was millions of dollars of reward. Ayatollah Hasan Amali was there. There was a tissue paper. He wrote down the answer and left. When they found this tissue paper, they said, who is this person who solved this equation? And this said, well, Ayatollah Hasan Amali was sitting on this table. So they go and they find him and they go and say to him, you know, you solved this that we were not able to solve. And he says, this is child's play. So we would like to give you a reward of those. I said, I don't need it. We think that, you know, there are individuals who have 14 PhDs. We have Ayatollah Muhammad Hussain Tabatabai Rahmatullah of Tafsir al-Mizan. He incorporated a 26-page paper of a geologist into the tafsir. I mean, Islam has answers for anything you can bring up. The rabbi, there's a rabbi who had an interview and it was on YouTube. He said himself, he said, the only religion that has the ability to be able to stand the test of time is Islam. We have such a beautiful, perfect religion. We've distorted it and deceived individuals and manipulated them for our own self-vested interests. For what? For what? Well, I can explain to you about Allama as well, about Zari too, about everything. Just have to ask. We don't ask. We decide on our own and make our conclusions. Just ask. There are individuals who can give you the answers. Have the thirst. Ask. So my brothers, this is something which you need to recognize. If you don't do that, there'll be individuals who are going to go against the julus, and if we cannot stop the procession on the road, there will be individuals who will go against the azar of Imam Hussain. We cannot stop that. It has to continue, maybe after the third generation, fourth generation, or 1,000 years after, the result which is intended will come. But if we stop it now, it will not reach that place. Today, the things that I was able to talk to you 37 years ago or 38 years ago, if somebody came and started talking to you about those things, you'll be like, you know what? We just want to hear the quote-unquote checklist of a speech. Right? We have a checklist. Thursday, Dua Kumail, check. Surah Yasin, check. Maulana, check. Right? This sort of things, check. This sort of masaib, check. Niyaz, check. Alhamdulillah, we've done our responsibility. Islam is not a religion of checklists. Dua Kumail is not to be recited, but to ask. Dua is not being to recite it, but to ask, to call. We just recite it. We sit down, we go through the motions, we recite a checklist. Azar of Imam Hussain is not just wearing the black clothes, but having the heart which has broken down. That does not find comfort anywhere. But the only comfort it would find is if it was to go, attend, cry, moan. If you tell a mother who's lost their child, what's the point of you crying? The child is gone. What would the mother say? The mother would turn around and say, have you lost the child? If you've lost the child, you would understand what my heart is going through. And we say that, our mothers and fathers be sacrificed on Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain, his status was such that these things that happened in Karbala should not have happened. Imam Sajjad says that if somebody just decides to go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if the people of the world were to know what is the stature of that individual, they will never let that individual touch the ground. They would put themselves in front of it and this individual will walk on top of those bodies. This would be the amount of respect they would give to an individual who has just the intention to go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then what would be the level of respect someone who was a representative of Allah? What should have been done with him? It should not have been that he should have been thirsty for 3 days. It should not have been that he was hungry for 3 days. It should not have been that he had to pick up the dead bodies of his friends and family members. It should not have been that stones would have been thrown at him, spears thrown at him, swords hitting his body. Where he's not left with a single place that there was not a wound. This was not his place. This was not the right of the Holy Prophet. And neither is what is happening to the Imam of the time. He has that dress of Imam Hussain and he looks at it. He sees those stains. For the last 1200 years he's been walking here and there and there. Waiting for that responsibility that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed on his shoulders. waiting for us to get to that point where he can introduce himself. Every Muharram, I don't know, when I think about the Imam, where he's sitting down, where he's crying. When somebody saw him in his dream, he said, Imam, we have heard that you cry the tears of blood. Is that true? Imam said, I do. He said, is it because of the hardship of Mawla Hussain? Is it because of the hardship of Hazrat Abbas, of Hazrat Qasim, of Hazrat Asghar? He kept up, Imam said, no. I shed tears of blood. He says, Asham, Asham, Asham. I shed tears of blood. And look at us, when the 10 days are over, we're going to leave Bibi Zainab. We're going to bury Imam Hussain, we're going to say Al-Fida, and the Bibis, the hardest masayib of all are going to start after the Ashura, and people will not be here. Imam needs us at that time to comfort his heart. We leave. We just want to have our checklist. We've forgotten what it means to mourn. If you hear the news that your father has passed away, would somebody need to read anything? You would sit down in the corner, you would think about your father. Your tears will come out automatically. You would not hear somebody to read the Masal. Today people ask the progeny of the Prophet to sit on the mimbar and to narrate what happened to their grandmothers and to their grandfathers and to their children. And then they say, you did not recite enough Masahib. You know how hard it is for a Sayyid to let you know that Zainab had, Bibi Zainab's arms were tied in a rope. That these ropes did not tie themselves, somebody did. You try to imagine this for your mother. Then some non-mahram comes and ties ropes on your mother's arms. You can handle that. And you want somebody to sit on the mimbar and describe that for you. Allah, the mercy that you have and the grace that you have and the means that you have provided, give us the opportunity to understand the religion of yours and to mourn Imam Hussain as it is his right. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the coming of our Imam as soon as possible. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim al-Asr inna al-insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa aminu as-salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr.